All right, so boom. This episode, this episode 2 of Drive to Survive the series, or as I like to call them, the Real Housewives of F1. We're gonna talk about the frenemies. Yep, that's what they call this episode, the frenemies. These two men right here who was talking crap about each other right next to each other after the race. That's what we're gonna talk about. So this episode, the story arc is Lando gonna ever win his first race? Lando is this guy in the orange hat, basically. They basically pitted him against Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, current world champion, is now at this time he's a 3-time world champion, going for his fourth. This guy in the white shirt. So they grew up karting together. They know each other. All these guys, because there's only 20 of them, they usually like rise through the ranks together. Meaning that like when they do karting, Formula 2, like all the other like levels before they get to Formula 1, they're usually friends or at least cool and been knowing each other since they were like 12. So they like kind of create a bond because they're the only ones that do this in the world. And so, they came up as technically friends. Like they raced against each other. You've seen them in like pictures when they were like legitimately like kids. And so now they're pinning this as the frenemies episode. Why? Because as Lando goes into the season, and they kept calling him, I felt, not gonna lie to y'all, I felt so bad for Lando in this episode. Like, they made him out to seem like just the bullied, like, child. Like, they made him out to seem like just like confidence. They called him Lando No Wins. They were just going at this man. I said, guys, please relax on my man. Like, they were like, oh, is he serious? Does he have that fighting mentality? Like, they were like pitting Max. They're like, yeah, Max is strong. He has this winning killer mentality. Like, Lando, he's not that. And then they show him playing with like puppies and like slipping and falling. And I was like, guys, what do we, why are we pitting it like this? Like, this was, I know y'all trying to judge up a show, but this was disrespectful. Like, if I was Lando, I'd be like, God, don't ever pay me in that light ever again. Like, that is crazy disrespectful from Netflix. But basically, that was like the arch of this episode. So they have. My bad, guys. I had to stop the video real quick. Had to check my notes, get myself together. Anywho, we're back. So this is after the Austrian race. So now the Austrian Grand Prix, everything is being set up to where like they're really close. The McLarens, they started off in the year and their car really wasn't that good, but they came a long way from last year. Like they over the winter they developed like a much faster car, but they were still a little bit behind Red Bull. But so now this is the race where it's like looking like, oh shoot, like McLaren might be matching in Red Bull's pace, and so like Lando can now actually take the fight to Max. So we start there, right? Now we get into a little battle. Basically, Max is in front, or I forget who gets pole, but Max ends up being in front during the race. Lando's like, all right, I got the pace. Let me try to get around him. He's trying to maneuver. He's seeing, oh shoot, Max got that dog in him. Max was going left and right, reacting to moves which you're not supposed to do. So basically, like, somebody's not supposed to cut you off. They're going so fast that the FIA kind of says, like, yo, if you move to one side, you can't double move when you see them going to the left side, like, especially in a corner. Like, there's something where it's like, you can't cut someone off as they're trying to move because that's super, super dangerous. So that's what he was kind of doing. Like, he was reacting to his move. So, like, if Max is here in front and he would drift this way and then Lando would try to come up this way, Max would then move back in front of him. So that's what was happening. And Lando got like really upset and you could see like the frustration because he's trying to move. And so, at some point they're like pushing each other off the track or like Lando's locking up because like he has to now slow down and react to like Max re-moving again. This keeps happening and happening until essentially crash into each other. Lando DNFs like completely, like his whole like back wheel done for it, and then Max doesn't DNF, but he has to pit and I think slows down. And he gets like 5th place after everything that happens, right? So now this is them, because essentially they're each saying each other's wrong. They're like, Max is like, yo, no, Lando was wrong for trying to get around me that way. It's dangerous. And then Lando was like, no, he was wrong for trying to get around me, like for not letting me go through and for moving under braking. Like, you're not supposed to be doing that. All this type of stuff. They're next to each other. They're right next to each other. And they're literally talking bad about each other right there. I don't know how they were able to do that because I just looked at him and be like, so what? So, like, we just had the conversation because this, crazy. But yeah, essentially that is kind of what now leads up to the Dutch Grand Prix. So they also cover like Miami, and so Miami was Lando's first win. So Miami was a cool race. Like, they kind of, people were saying they got lucky because there was a a yellow flag. I think Logan Sargent and like a Haas crashed in the back. So there was a yellow flag, and Lando got lucky enough that he happened to pit under the yellow flag. And when you pit under the yellow flag, your time gets significantly cut down. So he ended up just being in front, and then he had a faster car and was running the race all the way through. So they were like, "Oh, he got lucky, blah blah blah." So he was like, "Nah, I'm really trying to win this next one on merit, on straight driving, no lucky this, all that type of stuff." Next Grand Prix they talk about is the Dutch Grand Prix. Max Verstappen is Dutch. And they said the only reason why they have the Dutch Grand Prix on the calendar is because the man that's been winning the most in the past 3 years, all 3 championships, is because he's Dutch. And so they have the Dutch Grand Prix. Everything is going good and fighting for the championship. But at this point now in the season, McLaren has a way better car. Like everyone's saying at this point, like McLaren's car is by far faster than anybody else's on the grid. So even though I think Lando lost it in the first corner because he had pole and then he lost it, he gained it back. And not only did he gain it back after like going around Verstappen, he like extends the lead. Like he wins by like 15-16 seconds. Like damn near really embarrassing losing. And this is the first time Max has lost his Grand Prix since it's been on the calendar. Like all the past years, he's the only one that's ever won it, his home Grand Prix, and he loses it. Not only does he lose it, Lando said just to rub some salt on the wound, says Max's catchphrase, "Simply lovely, huh?" That's his catchphrase for every time he wins the race, just "simply lovely." And then Lando uses it at his home Grand Prix as he beat him by 15-16 seconds. If that's not drama, I don't know what is. Like at that point, you just call that man out his name and now you try to fight. That's what that sounds like to me, because that's so rude and disrespectful at his home Grand Prix. So that's what they talked about. That was the over arc of this entire episode. So I like this episode. To me, so far, I'm like halfway through the season right now. I like this episode the best so far. Let me know what y'all think. Yeah, that's basically it.